All right, so this is the second movie review podcast that I have done. Last week I didn't even do a movie. I did a show. I did a series. So actually this is the first movie review, film movie 2+ hour long movie review that I have on a movie that I got to see uh, with the old lady, as I like to say. Don't Worry, Darling was the name of the movie. And this movie was one that I did not pick this movie. This was not my turn to pick this movie. This was okay, we've seen this movie that I wanted to see. We've seen this movie that I wanted to see. She wanted to see one of those movies too, so it was like a compromise. This movie was one that she solely wanted to see. I don't want to say that I didn't want to see it. I mean, I went to see it. If I didn't want to go see it, I wouldn't go see it. But I thought, you know what? It does look intriguing, looks interesting. Is it a movie that I would see on my own? Probably not. But hey, we'll go see it. And I have to say, walking out of that theater, I felt like I liked the movie more than she did. I came away feeling like that movie was a much better movie than what I thought it would be. I felt like the idea, the concept, was overplayed while watching the trailer. And then by the time the movie was over, I felt like, okay, they did this a little bit differently, a lot differently than what I anticipated. There's a massive twist involving who was responsible for the situation. So, as I didn't do last week, as I will do this week, I want to read the quote unquote synopsis of this movie, which among, 370 people right now on Google, this movie has a 2.9 rating, which isn't that great, right? It's essentially 2.5 stars out of 5. 3 stars out of 5, right? 2.9, 3 stars out of 5, which it's rated higher than a 2.9. More people rated it a 1, which is a low score, obviously, rather than a 5. In the 1950s, Alice and Jack live in the idealized community of Victory, an experimental company town that houses the men who work on a top secret project. While the husbands toil away, the wives get to enjoy the beauty, luxury, and debauchery of their seemingly perfect paradise. However, when cracks in their idyllic life begin to appear, exposing flashes of something sinister lurking below the surface, Alice can't help but question exactly what she's doing in Victory. So, Olivia Wilde directed the movie, who played the part of Bunny in the movie. You got Alice, who's Florence Pugh. I think I said her last name right. You got Jack, who is Harry Styles. Alice and Jack are living together. They're together. They live in this community, as the synopsis says. And Olivia Wilde is with Nick Kroll, who is an awesome comedian who plays the character Dean. And they have 2 kids. Harry Styles' character Jack and Florence Pugh do not. And that was one of the first things that I noticed, is that, okay, they're living next to a couple that has kids. There's gonna be kids involved with these guys, with this couple. Is that going to be alluded to, that maybe one wants kids and the other one doesn't? Is that going to be a thing? That was what I thought when I'm watching that movie. And it did become a part of the movie where Harry Styles' character just says, I'm just going to say Harry Styles, even though it's not, it's Jack. Jack says to Alice that he would want to have kids, while Alice is laying very provocatively in the tub, which there were some very raunchy scenes in this movie that were a little bit too much. Like, okay, we get it, we get it. I'm sitting in a theater filled with young ladies, 13, 14, 15, and they're all like foaming at the mouth over Harry Styles in this scene, and it's like, okay, this was not the movie for me. This was not. Is Any Given Sunday replaying in the next theater? I mean, it's just not the movie for me. But in those moments. But boy, did this movie pick up. I mean, once you get towards the tail end of it, I'd say the last 45 minutes to an hour of this movie is freaking insane. And it's very funny when Alice realizes that the world around her was manufactured. She's living in a fake paradise. She's living essentially in a spoiler alert simulation created by her husband and recruited by Chris Pine, who is like the main head honcho Frank of Victory, running the company, running the town. He's like the mayor. He's like the and that part was kind of weird. Is like, is he the mayor? Is he like their boss? What's the situation with this guy? Is he like a cult leader? What was the situation? All the above, I guess. And once Alice realizes that this is fake, that the world she's living in is fake, she had her own life where she was a nurse, and she was a great nurse, great doctor, I think, nurse, doctor. They alluded to her being in the medical field. We'll just say that. And she was worn down from work, but she enjoyed her work, but it took away from her marriage with Jack. And Jack is really a bum. And the big shock of this movie was Harry Styles in reality rather than Harry Styles in Victory in this community. He's looking fresh. He's got the hair. He's got the suave clothes, looking like Harry Styles in real life, in the real world. But in the real world of the movie, Harry Styles was butt-ass ugly. I mean, they made Harry Styles look terrible in this movie. And it was so shocking that the whole crowd just burst into laughs. And some of them were laughing so hard they were crying during the movie. Like all the girls were like, oh my God, that doesn't even look like the same person. And it didn't. I mean, they made him look terrible. And that was funny. That, okay, here's a guy that is this computer programmer that's really down on his luck. He's a loser, essentially. He gets recruited into this paradise to where he has to put his wife in it, and he knew she wouldn't agree to it willingly, so he drugged her and basically gave her enough water for her to stay alive. She's bedridden, locked into this simulation that he then locks himself into as well, so that they can live this fake life while they're just laying in a bed in the real world. Crazy twist on the movie, and yeah, it is a spoiler alert, so I will post, as I did post this video, that spoiler alert, I will provide spoilers in these movie reviews. So if you don't want to know what happens, don't watch it until you see the movie, then hear my thoughts. So I do a system where I rate these movies 1 out of 10. And I'm going to say that this movie was a 6 out of 10. That's the rating I'm going to give it. And I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because I feel like two things. First off, the movie didn't move quickly enough for me. Granted, I don't want to be like immersed into the movie right out of the gate. I want to be, I want breadcrumbs, but I don't want to be starving on the floor crawling for breadcrumbs while I'm watching this movie. You know what I mean? I don't want things to be slow moving with a movie. That slow. I mean, we really redundantly beat the dead horse, so to speak, of Alice noticing things aren't what they seem. And that annoyed the shit out of me for about an hour and a half. And then things started to kind of piece together with Margaret, the neighbor, jumping off the roof and like, oh shit, she just cut her throat and all this crazy stuff. And then it started to pick up. And when it started to pick up, it was good. But I don't like, the majority of the time, I should say. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I don't like when you leave a movie to an ambiguous ending to where it's left up to the viewer to decide whether they live or died. And it's like, no, I just went on this journey. I want to know if she made it into the real world. She escapes out of Victory. She knows how. She's banging on the window, and then she just breathes, and the screen goes black. It's like, is she breathing her last breath in the fake world, breathing her first breath back in the real world? You don't know. And that's stupid. That's stupid to me. So I would have liked to have seen her go into the real world, stab. Well, she did stab Harry Styles. See Harry Styles laying there, all goofy and hackery, looking like a hacker, laying there in bed. That's what I wanted to see. After he put her through hell, essentially. But we didn't get to see it in reality. We got to see it in the fake world, and then we didn't get to see whether she made it out into the real world, and I don't like that. So I rate the movie a 6 out of 10. I say, don't worry, darling, because there were parts of it that were just so trippy. Parts of it that you would think the Olivia Wilde really dabbled in her gummy drawer or her weed dispensary, making this movie. There were scenes that just didn't really make sense. Scenes that were just random with like the Rockettes and stuff like that, or whatever it was. It just felt like they dragged that on a little too much for me. But neither here nor there. I saw it, give it a 6 out of 10, maybe at best a 7, and just say you only need to see it once. You don't need to see it twice. And reading about it after the fact of seeing it, I found it interesting that it seemed like there was a ton of drama between Florence Pugh and Harry Styles, Florence Pugh and Olivia Wilde especially, whereas Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles became a couple in the process of making the movie while Olivia Wilde was with Jason Sudeikis. Just a lot of really weird drama from this movie that I could kind of see hindering the production of it as well as the promotion of it, frankly. Especially the promotion of it, frankly, in the premiere. Florence Pugh didn't even attend the premiere, and it seems like Olivia Wilde is not really looked at respectfully in terms of how she handled things with who she originally casted as the role of Jack. She didn't originally cast Harry Styles. She casted Shia LaBeouf, which would have been very interesting, him playing that part as more of a gruff, rough and tough guy that he is, I think, given some of the roles he's played and just given his look in comparison to Harry Styles, who was like this babyface, dude. More of a pretty boy style, preppy, style guy, where Shia LaBeouf is more of a gruff, bearded dude. How would they have pulled that off? That would have been very interesting. And apparently Shia LaBeouf was just not into it. Not into the production, not into Olivia Wilde as a director, and walked away from it. So